about way cash crisis works.
Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the one factor called monetary awareness. Hey there, hope all is well. Back at you today with some more RT news updates. And as you can tell from today's title, we're going to be talking about retirement and how it is a flawed concept in and of itself. And so I have about 7 or so articles I want to share with you, just basically thumb through the headlines and share with you what's happening out here in the news in regards to what's happening with GE and how a lot of people are waking up to the idea that the retirement concept in of itself is not going to pan out to be what it was initially sold to them when they began working, say 30, 40 years ago. So right now we have approximately 74 million baby boomers that are entering into that phase of their life where they're looking to basically dial back, slow down a little bit, and be able to withdraw some of the funds that they set aside, whether it be in Social Security or through their employer. And the reality is that because of monetary policy and the way that our government has gone on a spending spree, basically borrowing more than they can ever repay back, the entitlement side of things will not be there for people to be able to draw upon, as well as just the overall condition of the economy, with whether it be the stock market, the bond market, all those financial tools that have been utilized over the last couple of years as a way of drawing some of that retirement may not necessarily be able to retain their value, i.e. what's happening with GE. So as always, before I dive any further into these articles, if you're new to RTD, click the subscribe button as well as that notification tab to be informed of future videos. And if you have not, take the time to visit the RTD University page where I put together all my prior interviews dealing with monetary matters, as well as the importance of holding precious metals and being more proactive in your own investment and retirement approach if you choose to follow that method. And so the very first article here, it's just basically just a headlines, and it's from Wall Street Journal. And it caught my eye because I saw this gentleman here sitting here looking sad, of course, but he's one of many, of which it says retirement shock, need to find a job after 40 years at General Electric. So this is for paid subscribers, but give you an idea what's going on. He says Gary Zambrowski started working for GE in 1976 as an aviation factory in his hometown of Massachusetts. Said the job paid well, came with benefits, and for Mr. Zambrowski provided a career ladder for a man with a high school education who started out cleaning toilets. So I'm sure it goes more into his story, but the unfortunate reality is that he spent the better part of his years anticipating this moment when he can then dial back, slow down a little bit, and be able to receive what was promised him. And as I'm sure this story will tell, that won't be the case completely. And so the next article here, Seeing Money, and it says GE pressure to fire auditor after 109 years. So basically, because GE is going through so much problems right now, it gives some information as to why they end up firing KPMG. Give you an idea what's going on. It says shareholder watchdog grows worry that GE and KPMG have become too cozy during their 109-year-old relationship. It says the KPMG question is one of several facing GE shareholders after a nightmare year. A mounting cash crisis caused by countless bad deals cut GE stock price and coveted dividend in half. So that's going to be a problem there because less funds to pay out. So more information there if you're interested, read for yourself. Next one here from Bloomberg View. It says, don't blame Jeff Immelt for GE stock woes. Goes into a little bit of how you shouldn't blame this gentleman here after taking over for Jack Welch back in the day. And it goes into more of the turmoils there within GE, but just more detail as to why GE is such a big company worth taking a note of. Because if it can happen to GE, which has been around for 100 years plus, it's good to say it can happen to a lot of other companies that we have yet to hear about or is not really making the mainstream news, such as GE. So if you're interested, feel free to read for yourself. Next one here says, will GE uncover more skeletons? So just let you know there could be more things out there lingering that could cause problems. Next article here says the rise and fall of GE, and it goes into a lot of information, give you some graphs, and it basically shows the stock price at about $33 back in 2000. But of course we had the dot-com bust, and then it went on down to $15. Then we had the subprime situation that was peaked at $27.53, ended up going down to say $8 or so. Then we have most recently, as of last year, is at $29. But as of right now, it is at $13. So the question is, how low will it go? And the lower it goes, the more at risk that company will be in regards to being able to keep its doors open and live up to the rest of the promises. But it goes into more information as to how the company arrived at this point, and it talks about dividends. So if you're interested, feel free to read for yourself. Next one here is says retirement crisis looms for aging Americans. So this is a very good video here. And if you listen to it a little bit, it talks about this lady here, how she was working for several years, about 30 years or so, was anticipating on retiring at her current employer, but ended up getting laid off. And now she's doing some consulting work at a nonprofit. And she's questioning whether she'll be able to retire the way that she thought she would. And so she's bringing that into question. And basically, as you see here, shaking her head, not really understanding how this came about. And then if this video goes on a little bit more, this gentleman here talks about his ex-wife, who's a lawyer. And so he's concerned for her because he don't think she saved enough cash to be able to retire either. And then it talks about here, this person here talking about a book that just came out or is coming out in regards to how to solve the retirement crisis. But in actuality, I think goes a lot deeper than that. And so if you're interested in watching that video, feel free to do it for yourself. So here we fast forward to now, 2018. So now the big question is, Americans haven't saved enough for retirement. What are we going to do about it? And so it gives us some ideas as to how it could be solved. But yet now we have the millennial generation and Generation X, which are being brought into question as to whether or not they're saving enough in the vehicles that's been positioned for them, whether it be the 401ks, the IRAs, or whatnot, your typical employer contribution type of things. And so at the end of the day, the whole idea of retiring is being exposed for what it really is, and the idea that it wasn't designed to be like a lifetime long-term solution, just because up until this time frame here, it was never counted upon by employees as they retire to be able to then withdraw upon funds for the rest of their life, not even knowing how long they would live or how much they would need to set aside to be able to withdraw for the rest of their lives. So those are all things that I always question myself. And then what I want to leave you with is an article here. This actually came out as of 2016, but it says why retirement is a flawed concept. So this whole video here was only to position to you all the GE stuff and what's happening out here with just the word retirement and how it's attached to the word crisis, and then you have the pension crisis. So this is a very interesting article here where it gives a little bit of history as to the whole retirement concept, how it arrived on the scene back in 1889 from the Germans, how that all played out or whatnot. And then it goes into modern day. And it talks about people over on the island of Okinawa and how those people there view retirement or that concept a lot differently than we do. And so there's a word that they use, and I'll give you a little bit of what it says here. It says, but they also have an outlook on life that is very different from those in the West. It says, while we think of retirement as a golden age of golf greens and cottage docks, guess what they call retirement in Okinawa? They don't. They don't even have a word for it. Literally nothing in their language describes the concept of stop working completely. Instead, one of the healthiest societies in the world has the word ikigai, which roughly translates to the quote, the reasons you wake up in the morning. It's the things that drives you most. So the author here goes on to talk about how that whole concept of ikigai plays out in this area here in Okinawa. And it gives some studies that they did over the last couple years. And some of the results from that study basically show that people who had meaning, people who had purpose, and people who had a reason to get up in the morning other than just to exchange your time for money with the anticipation of later on in life really beginning to enjoy their lives, enjoy themselves, did a lot better. So it gives some statistics here if you're interested in reading those. But basically it says, to put it another way, we don't actually want to retire and do nothing. It says we just want to do something we love. And I'm not talking about endless days of back nines, fishing and sailing in the sunset, or we might want time to do those things. You'd be surprised to learn how quickly the bloom can come off that type of rosy retirement. I believe that we've all do better served by taking on the concept of ikigai and distilling it into what I call the 4 S's, which is social, structure, stimulation, and story. And then you read a little further into all of those right there. But it basically gives a little bit more meaning to the idea of waking up in the morning, doing it for something other than working solely to set aside money for your future. And so this course goes a lot deeper, but I just want to share with you what was on my mind this morning and what's in the headlines in regards to GE and how I believe the next couple of years, give or take, the whole concept of retirement will become a word that a lot of people will it'll put a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, just because that whole retirement concept of being able to then retire, dial back, and do what you love at the latter point of your life might not be the case because there might not be no funds for it. And the whole retirement idea in and of itself of being able to withdraw upon an account for the rest of your life is all geared towards the markets being stable. And as you guys see with the whole volatility in the stock market, the bond market, and so we have the disruption with the crypto space. So there's so many dominoes that could be tipped over any minute now, which would cause a complete market meltdown similar to what happened in 2007, 2008, which will cause a lot of people to lose a lot of value from their holdings in regards to all these financial instruments that they've been counted upon and depend upon for retirement. So in my opinion, I think the idea of retirement is not what it's cracked up to be. It was sold to the Western world for us to be able to continue to work very hard, keep our money in the system. But that idea was proposed in a time when the markets were a lot healthier and there wasn't as much debt as there is now, and so much mistrust in our financial system. So I just want to take a couple minutes, share these articles with you. I would love to hear your thoughts on this idea of retirement being a flawed concept. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you of the mindset that you would rather work as far as doing what you love? Or are you of the mindset that it's okay to work hard for 20, 30 years and then when you're done, begin doing what you love? So just wanted to post some ideas, post some thoughts, put it out there and see what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. And if you find this informative, give me a thumbs up and share this with your family and friends so they can either read some of these articles or just grab a couple articles for yourself to share it with those that might need to hear this message. So other than that, enjoy your day.
It's the next recession.
Recession will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months, but a lot of things about this particular one have not been typical. So
a crash is coming now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. If you know what to do, if you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.